So the last thing I'm going to talk about is something that changed my life. Never told this in public, so please bear with me. Oops. My pacing. True masters are those who have chosen to make a life rather than a living. My grandmother used to say it a different way. So don't get so busy making a living that you forget to live a life. She told me that when I was young and first started working. She was very smart. Both of my grandmothers were two of the smartest people I've ever known in my life. Very intuitive also. I was very blessed to have them in my life. Unfortunately, I didn't listen, as most grandsons don't. I worked a lot for a lot of years. This May will be my 20th year in the business, 20 years at PCAR. Over that time, I've sold hundreds and hundreds of homes. I've made a damn good living doing it. But how many homes I sell, how much money I make, how much money I have, the toys that I have, the car that I drive, it's not how I define success anymore. There are three ways that I define success. Three things that are very important to me. My family, my friends, and me. And what I mean by that, am I the father that I want to be? Am I the husband that I want to be? And am I living the life that I want to live? Am I doing the things that I want to do with the people that I want to be with? That's how I measure success now. You know, back in 2016, I was not only working real estate 40, 50, 60 hours a week, but years before that, I'd also started a sporting goods business, a wholesale sporting goods business that I worked in my spare time. So I literally worked 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day for years and years. The sporting goods business required a little bit of travel, January and February mostly. That kind of worked out because real estate, those are my slower months. Thursday before Super Bowl 2016, I'm on my way home from being on the road off and on for several weeks. I'm exhausted. I just want to get home. And my phone rings, and I wouldn't have picked it up, but it was one of my closest friends. I picked up, said, "Hey Tony, what's up?" He said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you guys know that we're having a Super Bowl party this Sunday, and I want you guys to come by. We haven't seen you in a long time. You and Susan need to come by." So I said, "God, yeah, I'd love to see you guys. It's been too long." So I'm exhausted, but we'll get by. I'll try to get by. Super Bowl comes. I'm in my office doing paperwork, getting caught up because I've been on the road. I've got listings coming up at the beach, and I'm just too busy. I called Susan and said, "We can't go. I just got too much to do." Monday morning comes. I get a call from Tracy's, Tony's wife, who said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know Tony's in the hospital, got a brain tumor. They think it's glioblastoma, and he might only have 12 months to live." Of course, I'm in shock. Why, how? I drive down to the hospital. Thank God I was in town. I remember pulling into the parking lot, and I'm just in this fog like, this can't be true. Not Tony. I walk in the hospital, and I just get nailed with that damn hospital smell, and it knocks me into reality. This is true. I find his room. I take a deep breath. I walk in, and Tony says, "Thanks for coming to the party, asshole." I said, "I'm so sorry," and I gave him a hug. I was never a hugger until I met Tony. He's a big guy, full of life, and he was all in on bear hugs. You had no choice. I gave him that hug, sat down, we started talking about life. Started talking about business. He was a businessman too. And then we started talking about basketball. Mitch is here, he knew me back in that day. Tony and I coached basketball together for years. We coached the same team, same boys, at all levels. Same team over all these years. His son Zach, my son Stephen were on the team. It's how we met, and it's how we became friends. So we were talking about, we used to travel as a team all over the state. We would go to different tournaments. And all the families would stay in the same hotel. And the kids would be running around being a bunch of knuckleheads. And the parents were together being a bunch of knuckleheads. And we just had a great time. And we talked about how those were some of the best times of our lives. And they were. Then Tony said, "You know, it's better this happens to me than it happening to my kids or Tracy." And I think we all would say that. We would much rather have something like that happen to us than one of our loved ones. Then he said, "It's much better that this happened to me than your kids or Susan or you." And he was being strong, but I knew he meant it. I knew he meant it. I looked in his eyes, and I didn't see any fear. There was no fear in his eyes at all. All there was sadness. His eyes were just full of sadness. I still see it today. Tracy comes in and says, "I'm sorry, there's several people that want to see him." So I give him a hug, say, "I'll see you tomorrow." Head back to my car, and I'm just sitting in my car, staring out the window, thinking about Tony, his life, how short and unfair life can be. And I started thinking about my life and all that I had. And then I got angry. I looked in the rear view mirror and I said, "What the hell are you doing with your life? You're never home. You're always working. When you are home, you're not present. You're not the father you want to be. You're not the husband you want to be. And you're not the friend that Tony and your other friends deserve. You need to change your life now." So I did. I made a commitment right then and there to change my life. Over the next several months, I sold my sporting goods business. I took my family on the first real vacation in over a decade. A decade. Isn't that sad? I changed my life. Susan and I bought an RV. We put it on a lake about an hour from our house. We're there almost every Thursday and Friday. I fished more that year than I had in the 10 years prior combined. I fished so much, I got tennis elbow. True story. Jeffrey can tell you I had the brace on for like a year. We go fishing every evening. Our favorite part, on the way back in, it seems like we have the most beautiful sunsets that I've ever seen. We get oranges and reds and pinks. It's amazing. Susan has a little bottle of champagne she takes with her. She loves champagne. She pops it if we catch fish or not. I changed my life. Tony passed away. Tony passed away 26 months after he was diagnosed. "51 years old, left behind 3 great boys." Left behind 3 great boys, a grandson, or granddaughter, his wife, lots of brothers and sisters, and tons of friends. He fought that cancer hard. Lasted much longer than the doctors thought he would. He lost that battle. But because of him, I got my life back. I will be forever grateful to him for that. The changes that I made gave me freedom. The freedom gave me clarity that I hadn't had. Anytime I started working, since before I started working, I never had this kind of clarity. What was important in my life? That clarity led to presence, not only with my family and friends, but with my clients. And what that did was attract more business. The fact that I had a clear mind and I was present with all my clients more than I'd ever been attracted more business. And eventually it attracted more than enough business. It changed my life.